Hey there, I'm Tyler, and this is the Everyday Dad Podcast. At Everyday Dad, we tell stories. Our goal is to make you laugh, make you think, maybe cry, but ultimately, we want to help you to be the best dad that you can be. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get going. Welcome back to another edition of the Everyday Dad Podcast. I'm Tyler, and I'm super excited. I've got my friend Emmitt with me today. This is my 5th episode, which is cool, and it's my second real life in-person episode, and I super enjoy these, so I'm having a lot of fun. But yeah, Emmitt, go ahead and give us a little bio. Tell us about yourself. I know it's a kind of silly, dumb question. I need to think of a better way of saying it, but what qualifies you to be a dad? Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know your family. Your family's awesome. But yeah, give us a little kind of quick little bio.
Well, like you said, my name is Emmitt. I'm 29 years old. I have been married almost 7 years and have 2 children. I have a boy and a girl. And, personally, as a family, we like camping, backpacking, movies, nice. Those sorts of things. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. That's super fun. I grew up doing a lot of backpacking and camping. We don't do it as much with my family, which I wish we did a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like when I was a kid, it was easy. We just go backpacking. But as an adult, it's so much effort, to put it all together. Once you're there, it's fun. I enjoy it once you're there. But I don't know. I guess my parents went through all that effort, and I didn't realize it. I was just a kid. I showed up and, threw sticks around and stuff like that. Right on. And that's good. Sweet. So, one way that I do like to start podcast episodes is by asking a couple of questions out of these pod decks, these interview cards that I have. A little bit behind the scenes, we ran into a technical difficulty. So this is actually our take 2 of this one. So we already picked the cards, and we already have gone through these questions once, but they're fun, and we'll ask them again. We'll maybe have a little bit more, we'll have a little sneak peek as to what the questions are. So the first one, if you could look through one person's email without them knowing, whose email would you look through?
Oh, well, I think... some prominent figures come to mind like Donald Trump or Jordan Peterson. That would be a very interesting one to take a peek behind the scenes. I think those guys, that would be cool. You get a mixture, a variety of hate mail and people that are in love with them and everything in between. So that would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. No, I think a big name, prominent, whether it be celebrity or political figure. Donald Trump came to mind, just being the president of the United States. What the heck does that email inbox look like? Or Elon Musk or somebody like that. What does that email inbox look like? Or gosh, even internationally, like Putin or Zelensky. I don't know if world leaders are allowed to use email like that, but it'd be interesting to see what their what those communications look like, and
maybe scary. Who knows what?
Yeah, gosh, that'd be interesting. It might give us a very different idea of what's going on. Yeah, but I think that'd be fun. I wouldn't want to do my wife's email or my boss's email. That's meh, whatever. Mm-hmm. If I ask my wife for her email, she just hand me her phone, and I think we're both signed into our emails on each other's phones.
Yeah.
Cool. So question 2: would you rather give up all drinks except for water, or give up eating anything that was cooked in an oven?
It's so tough. Because, now coming to mind is orange juice, grape juice. I'm a sucker for fresh orange juice.
Yeah.
We got one of those juicers. And so, you can throw carrots and oranges and apples and stuff in there.
Yeah.
That would be so tough to give up. But I think you can cook the majority of the things that you want to cook just on the stovetop. So I think I would no, I'm confused. So if you give up the...
So only drink water or nothing.
Only drink water and keep the oven.
And keep the oven, or give up everything that's cooked in an oven and then you can have drinks.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so I think I would give up the oven and keep the drinks.
Keep the drinks. Okay. I have to agree with you on that one. I joke that I have a drinking problem. And it's not a drinking problem, it's a beverage problem.
I think I should be worried.
No, because like I'll walk into work and I'll literally have my coffee, my water bottle. I have a tea mug that I just leave at work for tea. I'll have a smoothie with me sometimes, and I've just got like water bottles and stuff everywhere. I love beverages.
Right. No coffee?
Oh yeah, coffee. Yes, I have to have coffee in the morning. Okay. But then I also like tea as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the oven. I like things that are cooked in the oven, but I can't think of anything like that I couldn't live without. Maybe pumpkin pie.
Ooh.
So that might be hard, but I think I could give up. Like, there's not much else that I can't cook.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just got a Blackstone for my birthday last year,
mm-hmm.
and I highly recommend Blackstone. Those things are super cool. I love it. I make up excuses to use my Blackstone to cook on there. But no, those are awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, hey, part of the heart mission statement, whatever you want to call it, the purpose that I try to have with the Everyday Dad podcast is just dads talking to each other, telling stories about times that we've done well in our adventure in dad-isms, mm-hmm. or adventures of being a dad, mm-hmm. And times when maybe we've missed it and haven't done the best. And so I ask dads to share stories from just personal stories of times that they've done well, to encourage other dads, like, hey, kind of repeat these behaviors. This worked for me. Or times that are like, hey, I kind of messed this up. And one, it's normal. Like, we all have faults and we're not always perfect. You're not, weird or crazy for thinking that way. Mm-hmm. And encouraging dads to be like, man, in hindsight, this is what I learned from that time that, I didn't do it so well.
Right.
So when you're coming up against something like that, maybe think about it this way. So I would love to hear some stories or some things like that. If you have some fun stuff to share, and I'll do my best to be quiet and let you kind of, go with that.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Well, so you want to start with...
whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with. Dealer's choice.
Let's see. Maybe I'll start with successes. I think one of the fun ones for me lately has been the way my daughter, who's nearing 4,
okay.
How she interacts with, kind of overhearing her interact with family members, friends, and then, but especially when we're in public, and mm-hmm. she'll strike up conversations with the grocery clerk or nice. the bank teller, and it's adorable and also just like cool. Like you feel safe and confident and brave to introduce yourself, and that's something that we've taught her. Mm-hmm. And so she'll say, hi, what's your name? And she'll ask them their name. She'll tell them hers. And then definitely the series of events is, this is my brother.
Yeah.
And then I have a kitty and I have a guinea pig.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And so that's super fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that's, we have wanted to raise our kids in a way that they're open to positive experiences, and to go out, into the world and enjoy it, and so that's neat to see. Yeah,
that's super cool. I'm trying to think. I think my wife is very outgoing.
Mm-hmm.
Me, not so much. My kids are always complaining. They're like, she'll go somewhere and come back from something. She'll be like, I made a 5-minute friend. They're like, Mom. But yeah, I think I'm just trying to think about like with my kids, I don't know if we instilled like, hey, go meet people, go experience things, or if we maybe put a little bit of caution in them. I don't say this blaming at all. My dad's a police officer, retired police officer. Yeah. So he's very protective of my children. And so I'm wondering if kind of that some of that protection kind of, growing up in a house like that kind of made me a little bit more, because I know I think I would get nervous if my kids would start striking up a conversation, or like, what are they going to say? like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's super cool. Anymore. I like that.
And in terms of failures, I think, or places that you want to improve is, I think spending time with your kids, and just asking yourself that question, like, man, like, am I spending enough time with my kids, or am I on my phone? Am I watching TV? And that's been super convicting for myself. Just realizing, like, there's gonna come a day when my kids stop asking me to play, stop asking me to do something, and so I think just making sure that I'm plugged in and connected to my kids, and building the forts when they want to build forts, and just being super intentional. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Was that ever an issue for you, you think?
That, and I think I'm experiencing kind of the after side of that, or getting into that area with, so for our family dynamic, like I went to work. I worked sales at a cell phone store, and I say unfortunately they paid really well. So it helped my wife be she was a stay-at-home mom for the kids for a large portion until they started going to school, and then she was able to start working in the school system. So her schedule matched their schedule, which was phenomenal. And working retail, you're gone the best hours of the day, like 9 to 6, 10 to 7, like noon to 8. That's when you're working. And those are that's the best part of the middle of the day to spend time with your family. So a lot of their growing up, dad was gone working. And that is a hard dynamic. I mean, it's so easy to just grab your phone and veg out on your phone. And so I think I've definitely had that conviction of like, Dad can play with me, and it's like, I'm really tired. And it's like, I definitely won't say that I did it right many times. There's definitely times I did it wrong. But I know having that thought, and I think it's great that you're having that presence of mind this early with your kids. That's something that you can, work on down the road. Cause like, my son's going to be 15 in May, and my daughter just turned 13. So we're full on teenagers. Right. And I'm not cool anymore. like I'm coming to that realization. And like my son just within the last 6 months kind of flipped this switch. Like he wants to hang out with his friends all the time, and like doesn't want to be around me. And like he treats his room like an apartment. He's like, he'll come and grab dinner, and then he'll just run to his room. I'm like, dude, get out here. So like we were talking about, I was showing you just about a longboard earlier. He got into skateboarding, and he's like, Dad, you should buy a skateboard. And I was like, okay, I'm buying a skateboard. And we've been out a couple times skateboarding around, and it's just finding ways to get, for me, finding ways to get into their world. For him, it was airsoft for a season. So we bought airsoft guns, and we go around, we shoot each other with BBs, and get shot up, and so we do stuff. And with my daughter, she wanted to try snowboarding, so we got into snowboarding, and we tried it this year, and we didn't do a good job at it, getting on the hill as much as we should. So yeah, I feel like I've gone kind of through and I'm on a weird side of it now, and I feel like I'm talking way too much. I'm sorry.
No.
But I'm on like 3 years, my son's going to be 18 and he can move out of the house. Yeah. And that is terrifying. I do not like that. I do not like that at all. Not that I'm going to kick him out of the house, but,
right.
So that's the thing. And having to experience I already said it, like, they don't want to hang out with me. They want to hang out with their friends.
Yeah.
So my encouragement in that situation, and like what you were saying, is just having that presence of mind to, it's worth it to take the time and the energy to be with them, because my dogs are barking in the back of the house and we can hear it through the heater vent coming up here. So I don't know if it's coming through on the microphone.
He's barking right into it. He's trying to be on the podcast.
He's trying to. Let me talk.
Another, something else that I've been aware of, I guess, is times where I'm just overly strict, and then I end up feeling terrible. I'm like, I didn't need to talk to my kids like that. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough one.
Yeah.
And, I think it wasn't like because of that, particular issue, but, not long ago, I started seeing a therapist and kind of realized that, like, if I get my inner world, kind of squared away and some of that situated, I'm able to kind of just be present.
Yeah.
And I'm okay, like, being in my own skin. And that just makes me a better dad.
Yeah.
So that was big for me. Because there's times where there's, like, I have inner turmoil, and then that just I just end up lashing out and comes out on the people around me. And so that was important for me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I for a while, one of my jobs, we had free mental health coaching therapy.
Nice.
So I did a few sessions with that, and I highly recommend it to everybody that has the ability to do it. I think it's super helpful. It's awesome. And I think you were mentioning being strict, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would easily be one of my big things. And I feel like, again, kind of being on the teenage side of things, like the one example, and I it's just one of those things that I hate that I have to live with because I can't change it. Yeah. And like I love the ocean. Like, I absolutely love the ocean. Like, a bad day at the ocean is better than any day anywhere else, in my opinion.
That's a bumper sticker, I think.
I think so. I love it. Rainy, sunny, like, it's fantastic. But when my kids were little, we would go over to the coast, go hang out at the coast, and in my brain, I didn't want to have cold, wet, sandy, dirty children on the car ride home. So I wouldn't go let them play in the water.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife would take the kids over by herself, and when she would go to the coast as a kid, it was just a free-for-all, just whatever. Everybody go do their thing. And so I was a little bit more strict in that regard, and it was like, we play in the sand, but I don't want you to get, like, soaking wet and cold, or, like let's just look at everything and let's look at it, and it's beautiful, and I enjoy looking at it.
Sure.
Now, I know the Pacific Ocean is it's cold.
Yeah.
I've swam in Hawaii. I've swam in the Gulf of Mexico.
Is that doable? It's not too cold. I mean, I know it's hot over there, but
oh, the Gulf of Mexico, I guess, is the Gulf of America now. I actually watched a TikTok video that kind of added some explanation as to why that's actually important. It has something to do with, like, boundaries of countries and, like, international waters. Okay. It was I don't know. It
wasn't just a power play.
I honestly don't know. Maybe someone was trying to spin it in a positive light. At any rate, whatever. Not whatever, but at any rate, the Gulf of America. I've swam in that when it was the Gulf of Mexico there. Dude, it was like a bathtub. Wow. Like, it was awesome because it was on the west side of Florida in the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
Now the Atlantic, I think, is kind of cold.
Uh-huh.
And then over in Hawaii, we were swimming in the ocean every day.
Wow.
Like when I was there, like I wouldn't shower.
Mm-hmm.
And it was gross, but I wouldn't shower because we were in the ocean so much every day. I was like, yeah, I'm getting clean. We're good. But dude, the Pacific, especially the Oregon Pacific, like that,
freezing.
it's cold. It's freezing cold.
Yeah.
So, sorry, it's kind of a long tangent simply to say that my kids don't like the ocean.
Gotcha.
And I have this like horrible, like I ruined the ocean for my children because I was so strict about like not wanting, I think it was my comfortability of not wanting to have to try to clean off dirty kids or deal with like whiny, muddy kids.
Right.
But like in hindsight, I'm like, would it really have been that big of a deal to just let them go have fun and be kids at the coast and do their thing?
Right.
And maybe they would still hate the ocean. Maybe it's not my fault, but it's just one of those things that I'm like, dang it, like I have to live with it.
So then, you know, with your, you know, you've been a dad longer than me. It just makes me curious, like when you kind of realize like this is something that I kind of messed up a little bit with. What do you do? What do you do about that? Like with your, you know, in your inner world, you know,
I think for a large portion of my kids growing up, I don't think I realized that. Like, not that I knew that I was perfect or like I would get upset and, you know, raise my voice and I would know that that's wrong. Like the big, like easy things, like, you know, you yelled at your kids, you shouldn't do that. Like everybody knows not to do that. Right. But like the little things, like some of it, it's just honestly within the last like year or two is like, do I really need to, like, is it really that important? And especially with my kids now, like they're teenagers. So my son just last night, he had a friend spend the night and they're like, Dad, we want to go skateboarding in the dark. And I'm like, like my wife and I were both like super apprehensive about it. We're like, okay, you can only go here. Right. You can't ride while you're on the side of the road because you're wearing camo pants and a black shirt. Nobody can see you. And you have to be in the door at 9:30. Like those are the rules if you want to do this. Right. So it's kind of trying to come up with like, what did I hear recently? Like when the kids are in the smaller stage, you're there like telling them what to do. And then they get to a stage where you're more like a coach. You're kind of like, you can't tell them what to do anymore. You're kind of just like guiding them ish. And then as they get older, they may come and ask you for advice here and there, or they just figure life out on themselves. And I feel like my son's kind of in that phase. My daughter, she's still just a hair bit younger, but he's kind of in like I want to be independent. I want to figure out life on my own. Like him and his same friend is still over. They decided to build a skateboard today. So they tore the skateboard trucks off of his skateboard, found a hunk of wood laying around and drilled holes through it and mounted the trucks to that, and they went off and rode it. And I was like watching what they were doing, and I jumped in for a second. I was like, what if you did like this? And they were like, oh, okay. And then he was running back and forth. He was like, oh, it's all messed up, Dad. We don't need help. We got it. And I'm like, okay. Like I have to let you be independent and like do your thing at some point in time. And so I feel like within the last like year or two, I've just been like, is it really that important to have my way? Or can I let you be independent and figure it out? And at a young age, like that, I think that thought process doesn't always work. Like when, you know, when they're super little, you have to tell them what to do. But I think there's that transition period. So I don't know if that quite answered that question, but I guess that's kind of the context, at least of my world that I'm in at the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. One question I do like asking is, so thinking about the context, like the last year-ish, or we'll say this stage of life with your kids, what has been your favorite part of kind of this stage of life with your kids? And I think you kind of touched on a little bit with your daughter. So, and we can think of, you know, last year, this stage of life. But yeah, what's kind of been the funnest part that you've been enjoying? And then I'll ask kind of the inverse of that. What's been kind of the challenging portion of, you know, the young toddler stage where they have tons of energy.
Well, with my son, he just turned 1, so this last year has been, you know, roller coaster. But just recently, he's really, in the last few months, he's really just come into himself a little bit. And, you kind of start to see his personality shine through. And so that's been fun with him. With my daughter, I think something I hadn't mentioned was that she loves rock climbing.
Oh, nice.
And I love that because that's, I used to climb a lot.
Yeah.
And so, in one of her walls in her bedroom, I was able to put up some rock climbing holds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And just seeing her be like, Dad, I want to go climb. And, run back there and, help her climb and help her problem solve. And I don't know if it's just kids or if it's her, but she's naturally, a great little climber.
Nice.
And so that's a ton of fun. With her, this last 6 months or year has been particularly difficult, just as she's growing and developing opinions.
Yep.
Yep. Knows how to use the word no very strongly. And she can be difficult. And it's just like that balance of, okay, I need to make sure that I'm communicating in a way that is productive and trying to learn different ways to help her make choices as somebody who's basically just controlled by her emotions. And that's been super tough. But I think my wife and I kind of just tag teaming it and leaning on each other has been huge. We each, man and I each have strengths and weaknesses, and if we can kind of help each other out, then I think we can get through it. So
yeah, totally. I remember when my daughter was young. You said she's like almost 4-ish, right? Okay, yeah, it was around that age. Yeah, the word no, and I don't know who taught her. I don't know who taught her this, but her thing was no talk to me. And we were like, "Are you serious? No talk to me." And we're like, "Oh my gosh, it starts now." And it's like it's so hard because it was like super cute. You don't want to fully correct it, but then it's like, where's that attitude gonna lead down the road? But sure. No, it's fun. And I think that's I think a big part just being aware of that stuff. And I think for me, I don't know that I took the time to like stop and try to like process and be self-aware when my kids were young. And I have to imagine that doing that would have helped probably a lot more. And I think for me, and this might also partially answer maybe some of the question you asked me a little bit ago, is like, they're not robots, they're humans. And I think that's something that I also kind of struggled with, is like, do this now.
Right.
And it's like, they're little tiny humans. Like that's not how they operate. They're not a microwave. You don't push 2 minutes start and it does 2 minutes. Like, and I think that's something that I wish I would have internalized better when my kids were younger. It's just that. And when you verbalize it, it's like, oh yeah, duh. They're humans. They're not kids. But like in the moment, like my brain just doesn't like think that. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that I could have done better. Anything with your son? They're fun and challenging. I mean, one's still kind of a. I mean, is he walking yet?
He's walking.
Okay.
He started walking early.
Dang.
It was like the last week of month 7, right before he turned 8 months. He started walking, taking steps. So he's been walking for a little while.
That's cool.
Which is that was actually super difficult. We have a fireplace in our house with a brick. You could sit on it.
Okay.
And so it's like, 18 inches off the ground. This brick seating place. And
like a hearth kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and just perfect for him to hit his head on, trip and fall. So that was terrifying.
Yeah.
But he has he wants everything his sister's doing. He wants to chase her around, follow her around, and do. And That's fun. So yeah, they're great.
Nice. No, that's a super fun age. What was I thinking of? You'd mentioned. So I took some college courses a couple of years ago, and I started in like the business side of things. Then I switched over to teaching. And one of the classes, it was like early childhood development that I was going through, and they talked about in children, just in when your brain is forming, the and I might mess it up. The prefrontal cortex is where adults manage decision making.
Right.
And in children, the prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop until they're like 20 years old. Yeah. So all of their decisions are made in the amygdala, which is where emotions are. So like the way that I interpret that is my children will not be able to make a rational decision until they're 20 years old. Every decision they make is going to be based in emotion somehow. Exactly. And when I read through that, it kind of helped me be like, okay, like this is what's going on in their brains. Like I can't expect a 10 or 11-year-old to make adult decisions. Right. Like I can guide them, and I can't get frustrated at them when they make childish decisions because they're children. Right. And I think that helped me, at least in that period of time, and I think is hopefully kind of been something I kept in the back of my mind to help shape my decisions as I continue being a dad. Yeah.
Well, I think understanding that it gives you the ability to carve out some space for your kids to be kids and to make poor choices. And so I think learning is hugely important and super helpful. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I think that's kind of all the questions that I can think of. I will ask, actually, I do like to ask this question. Is there anything that, when we talked about doing a podcast, that you're like, hey, I think it'd be really cool if I could share this? That maybe is a question I didn't ask you or give you the opportunity to talk about something. I don't want to have you leaving feeling like, man, I wish I could have taken the conversation this way or something like that. So I just I guess that's kind of an open blanket open. Right. Yeah, just kind of open. And if not, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to make sure that I at least gave you all the opportunities.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, which I briefly mentioned this, but and I won't go full into it, but I think for me it was to be able to like fully realize who I am as a person, as an individual, was hugely important. So like for me, I lived most of my life not realizing that I had like pretty intense like anxiety, and I just never knew that that's what it was. I didn't grow up in a home that was aware of mental health type things. Yeah, and so like I said, being able to kind of dig in and do some work, some internal work, to come to grips with yourself, was huge. It's like if I can, it's like the best thing. One of the best things that I can give my kids is a dad that's a good dad, and a dad that's working and developing himself. So yeah, I think that's something to consider and look into.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. I appreciate you bringing that up again. Yeah, I think I feel like it's horrible to say it that way. I speak good English. It feels like, like that macho, like 70s, 80s, 90s-ish kind of like man culture, didn't really focus on those types of things, and not to push like ladies off to the side, but my podcast is about dads. So that's what we talk about. But I feel like it kind of skipped over that, and it was just like, figure yourself out, like cowboy up kind of stuff like that. And I mean, I think to a point, maybe some of that's okay, but I definitely think understanding like what's going on in our minds is huge and hugely helpful. And I super appreciate you bringing that up. So I guess the encouragement out of that is seek help if you need to, try to find, I mean, if your job allows for mental health coaching or mental, somehow you can get it through insurance. Like I said, I took did a few sessions of it, and just in a few sessions, like I had extreme anxiety over wildfires a few years ago, back in 2020, when we had 2 towns burned to the ground. Like I was messed up for a couple years. And the lady that I was working with, she walked me through just this very simple exercise, and it was like, it just helped my brain like rationalize stuff, and it was really, really cool. And and just to have that degree of help, I think is enormous. I think is super cool. And
that's great.
So that's fantastic that you've had a very positive experience with that, and definitely encourage people to reach out and look for that. So that's awesome. For sure. Well, I think we'll wrap up the episode there. Emmitt, thank you very much for coming on. This has been super fun. I've really enjoyed it. And that is a wrap. Well, guys, that is a wrap for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate it. Be sure to check out the show notes for any referenced information. And it would mean a lot to me if you would comment on and rate this podcast, as well as share this episode with a friend or family member. I'll catch you on the next one. And remember, dad hard.